Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're heading into some pretty strange territory. Lighthouses. But forget the pretty pictures on postcards. We're digging deeper.
Right, because these places, these isolated beacons, they seem to attract some really unsettling stories.
Exactly. Stories you won't find in the usual guidebooks.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to unpack a few of these real-life accounts. We've got stuff from a Coast Guard vet's story online, a weird dating app meetup, even a friend's account from an inspection job.
And what's fascinating is how these different sources, they touch on similar themes. We're going to look at how isolation, the environment itself, and maybe history, how they all kind of mesh together.
To create these experiences that are, frankly, pretty unnerving.
Yeah, genuinely unnerving. These aren't just ghost tales. For the people involved, these encounters left a real mark, a lasting impact.
Okay, so let's dive into this first one, Matinicus Rock. This comes from a Coast Guard veteran, Nate. And the source, his cousin actually, makes a point of saying Nate is super grounded.
Right, not the superstitious type at all. Practical, likes order, boats, that kind of guy.
Which makes his story from back in 2017, well, it makes you sit up and listen.
Definitely. And the location? Matinicus Rock. It's way off the coast of Maine. Super remote.
We're talking a jagged little island, lighthouse, one other building. That's it.
Yeah, no power grid, no plumbing, barely any cell service. You get there by boat or helicopter, period.
The lighthouse itself is automated, but it still needs upkeep.
And that's why Nate was there. Usually it's a solo job, but there were some strange electrical failures the year before. So they sent two guys this time, Nate and someone named Russell, 2-week maintenance rotation.
Gotcha. So the first few days sound pretty normal, right? Checking the beacon, the batteries, the generator, scraping salt.
Yeah, the usual grind, exactly what you expect. Isolated, routine.
Which almost makes what happens next feel even weirder. Night 4. Nate wakes up around 2:00 a.m., says the air felt heavy, like before a storm.
Okay.
And then he realizes the beacon's stopped. It's not rotating.
Oh, that's not good.
Not good at all. So they go up the stairs, check the mechanism, and find something jammed way inside the gears.
What was it?
A large, dark piece of cloth, like maybe an old blanket or a coat.
Weird.
Weirder still. It was soaked through, covered in this slimy moss, and it stank like rotting seaweed and mildew.
Ugh. How?
That's what they couldn't figure out. The main door downstairs was locked. All the windows in the lantern room were sealed shut. It just made no sense.
Right. Especially out there. Complete isolation. Where would it even come from?
Exactly. How do you even start to process that?
You don't, really. Not easily. That isolation, it just magnifies everything, every little thing that's out of place.
And it wasn't a one-off.
No. The very next night, night 5, same time, around 2:00 a.m., beacon stops again.
Seriously?
Seriously. Another piece of cloth jammed in there. This time, Nate described it as smaller, like an old-fashioned scarf or maybe a shawl, red, frayed.
And soaked again.
Soaked through with what looked like ocean water. It even had tiny little crustaceans, like, clinging to it.
Okay, that is deeply creepy.
Yeah, Nate said that was the point where it stopped feeling like a coincidence. They started barricading the stairwell door with crates at night, double-checking every lock.
I don't blame them. And this started affecting Russell, right?
Big time. On night 7, Nate hears him whispering, just whispering weird stuff to the corner of their room.
Oh, man.
Later that night, Nate finds him just staring out the window at the rocks. Russell says he thought he saw someone watching them the night before.
Okay, now I'm getting freaked out just hearing this.
Right. And after that, Russell just sort of declined, stopped sleeping properly, barely talked, just muttered about noises in the wall or voices coming from the stairwell.
The psychological toll must have been immense.
Absolutely crushing. And then came night 9. Both of them heard it.
Heard what?
Footsteps. On the metal stairs above them, coming down from the beacon room.
But neither of them was up there.
Neither of them. Real slow, deliberate footsteps, Nate said. Then just silence. Which he said was almost worse.
Oh, I bet. What did they do?
They ended up shoving a dresser against their bedroom door and sleeping with knives under their pillows. Just terrifying.
I can't even imagine.
And it wasn't over.
Not yet. Night 11. Beacon fails again.
Oh, come on.
But this time, they go up, and the door to the beacon room itself, it's wide open.
Unlocked.
Not just unlocked, swung wide open like someone had kicked it in.
Whoa.
And the beacon wasn't just stopped by cloth this time. It looked like it was deliberately messed with, the huge industrial bulb.
Yeah.
Which takes serious effort to unscrew, apparently. It was out unscrewed and placed perfectly upright, right in the middle of the floor.
Okay, that's impossible. That's not just weird. That's targeted.
Exactly. Nate was, understandably, terrified.
Yeah.
Russell looked white as a sheet, just pointing at the wall, whispering he saw a hand come out of the bricks.
Hand. Oh, my God.
They just bolted, ran back down, locked themselves in the bedroom. Nate didn't sleep a wink. Russell apparently just rocked back and forth all night, whispering to someone who wasn't there.
Nightmare fuel. Absolute nightmare fuel. Did they get out? Nate called for an early pickup the next morning on the emergency sat phone, made up some story about mechanical issues needing urgent attention.
Smart move.
But here's the final, really chilling part. When the pickup boat finally arrived, the crew asked Nate about the distress call they received.
What distress call? Nate made the call for pickup.
Right. But the boat crew had received a separate call around 2:11 that morning, garbled, lots of static.
Yeah.
And a voice saying something like, someone was there with them in the lighthouse.
But Nate didn't make that call.
Nate never made that call.
Wow, being stuck out there, my mind would be gone.
It's hard to fathom the aftermath. Russell quit the Coast Guard a few months later, never talked about Matinicus Rock again.
And Nate?
He still does maintenance rotations, apparently, but he has sworn he will never, ever go back to Matinicus Rock.
I believe it. Okay, so Nate's story is this deeply unsettling thing happening in total isolation. Maybe supernatural, maybe not.
Right, the ambiguity is key there.
But sometimes the mystery is in unseen. Sometimes it's very, very present and terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
This next one takes us somewhere more familiar, maybe, but during a strange time. Montauk Lighthouse.
Long Island, yeah. Iconic spot.
But this was during the early COVID lockdowns. The narrator mentions everyone was getting kind of stir-crazy. Do you remember that feeling?
Oh, yeah. Felt like the world was tilted. So, Montauk.
The narrator was actually on a Tinder date.
Okay. Interesting setting for a date, especially then.
Right. With a woman named Sophia, Swelfuff. He says she was a little rebellious, knew how to get around fences and stuff.
Ah, so they weren't exactly supposed to be there.
Pretty much. The grounds were closed after sunset, maybe entirely during lockdown. It wasn't totally clear. Adds a bit of tension already.
Sure does. Illicit adventure vibe.
He describes seeing the lighthouse at night as so cool, but also a bit eerie. Says there was something kind of liminal about it.
I get that. Lighthouses at night have that quality.
So Sauce leads them off the main path onto this cliff walk behind the lighthouse. It's dark. Most lights are off. They're using phone flashlights.
Setting the scene.
And that's when Sauce sees someone behind them down on the rocks.
Oh. Like staff or...
That's what they thought maybe, but it was a guy in a hoodie. They asked if he worked there, trying to figure out if they were in trouble. No response.
Okay, that's odd.
Then the guy says something completely bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
Offers to sell them Coke. Y'all want to buy some Coke?
Whoa! Okay, sudden shift.
Big time. Suddenly it's not about trespassing. It's about something else entirely. Something much more dangerous.
Yeah, that changes the whole dynamic.
Mm.
Instantly unnerving. What did they do?
They kept walking, trying to get back towards the car park. But the guy started following.
Following? How close?
Not right on top of him, but as the narrator put it, he moved at the same pace, keeping the same distance, just shadowing them along the cliff walk.
That's maximum creepy. That's sustained, quiet pursuit.
Exactly. Creates this horrible tension. The narrator decided, wisely, not to engage with him at all. Just keep moving.
Smart. Don't escalate.
But as they finally got off the path, hurrying through the grass towards their car, 2 more guys appeared, seemingly out of nowhere from behind them.
Oh no. 3 of them now.
3 of them. The narrator and Soph just screamed, ran the last few feet to the car.
Did they make it?
Just barely. As they jumped in and locked the doors, the 3 guys were right on top of the car, yanking at the door handles.
Jeez.
He slammed it in reverse and just peeled out of there. Caught away.
Wow. That is terrifyingly close.
He described it as that too close for comfort, feeling, shaken.
I bet. Any idea who they were?
Friends suggested maybe a local gang, something like that. Who knows? But the point is that isolation, even at a known spot like Montauk, it can create these pockets where really dangerous human encounters can happen.
Absolutely. It's a different kind of lighthouse threat, but just as real, maybe more immediate.
For sure. The narrator said he has no interest going back out there at night, period.
Can't say I blame him.
Okay, so we've had the potentially supernatural at Matinicus Rock and the very real human threat at Montauk.
2 very different kinds of unnerving.
Our last account kind of bridges that gap, maybe.
Yeah.
It's a story shared by someone named Gregory. about his old friend Ian.
Okay.
And Gregory paints Ian as like the ultimate credible witness, describes him as the real deal. 50-something weathered guy, decades in marine salvage, coastal infrastructure work.
Seen it all type.
Exactly. Diver, ship tech, remote government inspections. Gregory says Ian had seen just about everything.
So not easily spooked, presumably.
You wouldn't think so. This happened back in 2013. Ian was sent solo to inspect a decommissioned lighthouse.
Whereabouts?
Remote Rock Island off the Washington state coast. The county owned it but didn't know what to do with it. Ian's job was just to check its structural safety for possible restoration.
Standard procedure for him, sounds like.
Yeah, Gregory says he'd done dozens of these kinds of inspections before. Piece of cake normally.
But this one wasn't.
This one was different. Right from the start, Ian noticed how quiet it was. Cold, cloudy day, typical for the area maybe, but too quiet.
How so?
No birds, no insects.
Yeah.
Not even the sound of waves hitting the rocks, which seems impossible. Just wind. A soft wind and silence.
Huh. That is strange. An absence of sound can be as unsettling as a noise.
Totally. Then, day 2, things get definitively weird. First, this incredibly thick fog rolls in, like solid fog, unlike anything Ian, with all his experience, had seen before.
Okay, weird weather.
And then, he notices a maintenance closet partway up the spiral staircase inside the lighthouse tower.
What about it?
He remembered checking it the day before, day 1. The hinges were totally corroded shut. He couldn't get it open.
And now?
Now it's open. Just a crack, but definitely open.
Whoa. Okay. Did he look inside?
Yeah. Inside, he found a wooden box. Small, maybe lunchbox sized.
What was weird about it?
It was covered in damp moss, like it had just come out of the water.
Huh. Did he open the box?
No. He just looked at it, felt uneasy, and shut the closet door again. Didn't touch the box.
Okay. Still explainable, maybe? Condensation, old box, but the door opening.
Right. And then, night 2 happens. Ian wakes up in the middle of the night. Again, that total absence of sound. Then he hears it. Footsteps on the metal stairs above him. Going up.
Up, but he's alone.
He's completely alone on the island.
Okay, nope. That's squarely in the not explainable category for me.
Right. So the next day, he searches the entire lighthouse, top to bottom, finds nothing. No sign of anyone.
But the closet, the box.
He goes back to the closet.
Yeah.
And the mossy wooden box, it's not inside anymore.
Where was it?
It was sitting outside the closet, out on the stairwell landing, halfway into the path.
Oh, come on. That's...
No.
Did he touch it this time?
He picked it up, noted it felt heavier than he expected for its size, and it was nailed shut.
Nailed shut. Covered in moss, moved on its own. Okay, this is getting really creepy.
It gets creepier. He goes outside the lighthouse later that day, and he finds footprints in the dirt around the base.
His own.
No, bare footprints. Not boots, not shoes.
Yeah.
Bare, wet feet.
Wet footprints in the dirt.
And they led from near the lighthouse door towards the edge of the cliff and just stopped.
Stopped. Like vanished.
They just stopped at the cliff edge. They didn't circle back, didn't go anywhere else, just ended.
Okay, Ian must have been seriously questioning things by now.
Gregory said Ian couldn't rationalize it at all. He actually considered calling for an early pickup right then, fog or no fog. But he didn't. He stayed.
Brave man. Or maybe stubborn.
Maybe both. But night 3 was the breaking point, around 1:30 a.m.
What happened?
First, the heavy metal door to the beacon room at the very top of the tower slammed shut, violently, hard enough to shake dust loose from the ceiling down where Ian was.
Okay, wind maybe, freak gust.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But then came the knocking.
Knocking on the door.
No, not on the door, not on a window. 3 slow knocks on the inside wall of the tower itself.
Wait, inside the wall?
That's what freaked Ian out so badly. He said it sounded like someone was standing just inches behind the plaster inside the brickwork, just tapping their knuckles against the brick. 3 slow, deliberate knocks.
That's physically impossible.
Okay.
Utterly terrifying.
That did it. Absolutely did it for Ian. Next morning, thick fog still there. He gets on the radio, calls for immediate extraction, makes up a medical issue.
Smart. Get out any way you can. Did they come quickly?
Took ages because of the fog. He had to wait nearly 7 hours, pacing, listening.
Did anything else happen while he waited?
He heard someone walking out in the gravel near the base of the lighthouse. But the fog was so thick he couldn't see a thing. And when he looked later, no footprints.
Just sounds wild.
They finally got him out after dark. One of the deckhands on the boat apparently commented that Ian looked like he'd seen a ghost.
I bet he did. Did he ever report this stuff officially?
His official report just said the structure was compromised, unsafe, Never mentioned the box, the footsteps, the knocking, any of it.
Kept it to himself.
Yeah. Gregory said Ian wrestled with it, wondered if maybe he was just losing his mind from the isolation. He actually retired from field work altogether not long after that.
Wow. It really affected him. Did he ever talk about it more?
Only cryptically.
Yeah.
When Gregory pressed him years later, Ian just said, some places are meant to be left alone. They just need time and silence.
Chilling.
But here's the final kicker. The part, Gregory says, unsettles him the most.
Yeah.
He tried to find this lighthouse later, used the coordinates Ian had jotted down. Nothing. The coordinates don't match any listed structure. County records mention a decommissioned tower somewhere out there, but there's no official name, no accessible history, no way to pinpoint it.
So it's like it doesn't exist.
As Gregory put it, it's like he was never really there in the first place. #tag connecting insights. Wow. Okay, so 3 stories, 3 very different lighthouses, but you definitely see overlaps, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. That intense isolation is the bedrock for all of them.
Yeah, and the strange sounds keep cropping up, whispering, footsteps, that impossible knocking.
And the mechanical failures in Nate's and Ian's stories, too. The beacon stopping, the bulb being moved, the closet opening.
It feels like more than just equipment malfunction,
Right.
especially the way Nate's beacon was tampered with.
Exactly. The disruption of the technology, the very thing the lighthouse is for, feels significant. It challenges that sense of safety and order. It almost suggests, well, an intelligence behind it, doesn't it? Rather than just random weirdness.
Yeah, it feels deliberate. And then there's the feeling, or sometimes the actual sighting, of a presence, whether it's Russell seeing someone, or the guys at Montauk, or Ian's barefoot prints and wall knocking.
And notice how the nature of the threat shifts. For Nate and Ian, it's deeply uncanny, possibly supernatural, playing on that fear of the unknown. It messes with your head.
Totally. Makes you question your own sanity, like Ian did.
But for the Montauk narrator, the threat was undeniably human, immediate physical danger. Yet the isolation of the setting was still key to making that encounter possible and terrifying.
Right, so isolation amplifies everything, whether it's potentially paranormal or just plain dangerous people.
Precisely. The psychological impact is huge across the board. These experiences clearly caused profound distress, even led to major life changes like Russell quitting or Ian retiring from the field.
And we're still left with that ambiguity in 2 of the stories, aren't we? Was Matinicus Rock haunted? Was Ian's experience supernatural or extreme isolation psychosis? Or something else entirely?
That ambiguity is potent. It forces you to confront the limits of rational explanation.
These places, these lighthouses, they really do seem to be stages where, yeah, our perception of reality gets seriously tested. #hadjatro.
Yeah, these accounts really highlight that enduring mystery, don't they? Lighthouses are supposed to be symbols of safety, of guidance through the dark. Yet, so often they become the setting for these experiences that are anything but safe or easily understood. Their very nature being so isolated, so exposed to the elements, often holding so much history, sometimes tragic history, it seems to create fertile ground for encounters that just defy explanation, blurs the lines.
It really does. So maybe next time you see a lighthouse,
Yeah.
whether it's one of those grand old towers on a cliff or just a tiny flashing light way out on a buoy,
Yeah.
maybe think about this. What is it about these lonely sentinels? What is it that seems to attract or maybe even, create these kinds of profound, unexplained encounters? What secrets are actually hidden away inside those walls, far away from, the light of day?